life. Blessed by the moon, touched by the sun, longing to share deep joy with the world. Darkness will come, and it will go, like transient clouds. The jet stream of light will change before your very eyes. Be patient. Love of life awaits. The work is not easy. It is inside and out. The content of life is developed here. Filling your soul, exploring the mind, awakening your life's highest purpose. Gratitude for this day. Love of life. Blessings of humanity. Touched by ministry. Longing to encompass the wonder of it all. Blessed be. Please join me now in singing rank by rank as the ministers and religious professionals process the hymn.
I'm honored today to lead the chalice lighting along with my sister Clarissa for our mother Christiane at her ordination today. This picture with a quote on it was given to Christiane by a former client of hers before Christiane was even a UU. The quote embodies very well the type of mentality that Christiane has. The way that she leads, the way that she loves is kind and intentional. And so, as I read this quote, my sister will light the chalice. Success. To laugh often and much. To win the respect of intelligent people and affection of children. To earn the appreciation of honest critics and to endure the betrayal of false friends. To appreciate the beauty. To find the best in others. To leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Ralph Waldo Emerson.
So, Christiane, how come you're out there?
So I can see you.
Well, I am very honored to deliver this ordination sermon today, having worked with Christiane for years and seen her blossom in our movement, and she was so excluded in her tradition before, Methodist. So, Christiane, this is for you. And I want to say that this time of giving an ordination sermon is a tradition in Unitarian Universalism, as well as a time to pause and look at our faith and our ministries in a deeper way than usual. Christiane is being called into our Unitarian Universalist ministry, ordained by the people, by the congregation, because that's our practice of polity. But there remains a deeper call among us, a deeper call than that embodied here. There's a call to ministry that comes directly to the heart, and that involves something larger than any particular community. It's something we call God, the sacred, the spirit of life, the holy. In the 60s and 70s, when I was growing up in the Phoenix UU Church, those words were suspect and sometimes not welcome. As a young adult, when I came to this church, to the 22nd Street Church, I remember joining the choir and almost rebelling with a small group of us who took offense at so much God language in the pieces that the director had chosen. A few years later, when I went to seminary at Star King School for the Ministry, it was an interfaith dance class that opened my eyes to the blinders we wear regarding theological language. My friend, a nun, had asked if I believed in God, and I had answered no. She didn't let it drop, though, and she asked a qualifying question. Then what do you believe? Trusting in our relationship, I began to describe it for her in my own words. I believe in a force which permeates the universe and underlies all of us, binding us together. She said, that's what I call God. The mystical atheist and the Catholic nun, both believing in a similar force or energy on earth and in the cosmos, delving beneath the theological language that has divided people for millennia. It's not only the language that divides us, though, as there are beliefs that are like walled gardens, encouraging exclusiveness, to use the words of Sophia Lyon-Foss, and beliefs that are expansive, leading into deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are rigid, some are pliable, some like shadows, and some like sunshine. The funny thing about that responsive reading in our hymnal is that people don't think that it's about themselves. They think it's about the church or the society that they left. It's everyone else who has this struggle. But in reality, it's about all of us. It's our human nature. I put people into two categories for illustration. One category contains the literalists, those who, when they encounter a word, take it on its literal meaning. These people want to understand clearly what someone is trying to say, as well as the source of their thoughts and conclusions. But literalists can have trouble understanding poetry, and sometimes can wear blinders where religious themes are concerned. The other category I call metaphoricals. They interpret the world around them in a poetic way, delving beneath the word itself to the meaning that is there for them. They can find solace in a Catholic service as much as a Unitarian Universalist service, as much as a walk in the forest. They are fed by meditation, as much as by kirtan singing, as much as by prayer. Metaphoricals have trouble understanding the literalism of the literalists. But both literalists and metaphoricals are alive and well in all our UU congregations. And they are both alive and well in each of us to some extent. This is the struggle that we have as human beings in trying to understand ourselves, one another, and the world. I have this theory about how Unitarian Universalists evolved in the last 50 years. I blame or thank McCarthyism for the influx of atheists into our movement in the 50s and 60s. People were being threatened in their jobs and families, and the UU Church was a real sanctuary for them. This changed the makeup of our congregations, the liturgies we chose, and the words we used. I encountered this in my childhood years when I overheard adults complain in the coffee hour about the use of the word God. I know my father, who was the minister, went ahead and said it anyway. One curious behavior I've noticed over the years is that when people find us, when they discover Unitarian Universalism as a safe place, they sometimes assume that everyone is just like them, believes just like them. It takes a while, or a class, or an intervention to help people learn to engage in acceptance of our one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, to quote our purposes and principles. The conundrum is that when people start to believe that our congregations are of one mind or one belief, that they begin to act upon that belief. We are no longer a safe place for others. It takes constant monitoring of ourselves and others to remain open and respectful in our words and assumptions. In a few moments, we're going to sing Spirit of Life. And when Carolyn McDade wrote that lovely hymn, she said she wrote it as a prayer. It came out of her heart as she sat at the piano. It was a holy moment for her. And the power of that moment was such that she affected our entire association, our entire movement. In the 70s and early 80s, we Unitarian Universalists were recognizing a hunger in our hearts for the sacred, for taking back those words that we had thrown out with the bathwater. Spirit of Life gave us new words and imagery for embracing the holy, and we have been scarfing it up ever since. This tension regarding the usage of theological words and imagery remains embedded in our congregations. I've witnessed this again and again in all the congregations I've served. I've witnessed it in conversations with colleagues at General Assembly. And I've witnessed it in the stories of yearning by colleagues in my UU Mystics in Community Facebook group. Over and over on our page, people ask, how can I bring spiritual practice into my congregation? How can I bring up the topic of mystical experience in the first place? How can I be true to my heart when my people are so suspicious of God language? No minister, no congregant should feel uncomfortable in our congregations. We're founded on freedom, reason, and tolerance, as much as respect for one another. And we live under a covenant that is more powerful than any single belief. We must be grateful and remember to be grateful for the pluralism which enriches and ennobles our faith, to quote our covenant. We need to abide by that covenant. Christiane embarks on a new ministry among us, ordained by us today, and her beliefs and her yearning to embrace the holy must be respected. For it is that holy spark, or still small voice, that called her to minister to us in the first place. It is that holy flame which must be kept alive, or her ministry to be vibrant and meaningful. It's not just about Christiane's ministry, but about the lay and ordained ministries of everyone in this room, and everyone spiraling out into the community. That flame in each of us is a holy flame, however you experience it, no matter the words you use. Embrace it, and you will be transformed.
Our arrangement of Spirit of Life will allow you to sing this prayer multiple times. First, please remain seated and sing as a congregation. Then, listen to our pianist play through the tune, reflecting the words. Our choir will then sing a verse, and then we'll come back to you and you'll join us. At the last chorus, I'll ask you to stand, and we'll all sing together.
Sing Lisa was ordained here, that I was before you with the same task, to introduce the offerings for the Living Tradition Fund. And I figured there's either one or two reasons why I was asked to do this again. Either you all were so generous last April, that I figured we could do it again together. Either that, or we didn't do well enough. You're giving us another chance to do a little bit better this time. The Living Tradition Fund has been a fund that's been around for some 20 years in the Unitarian Universalist Association, and it's been an important way of supporting our ministers. The majority of the Living Tradition Fund goes to help those new ministers who graduate with deep debt. And unfortunately, the cost of education, even educating a minister today, has risen like anything else and probably exceeded a lot of costs. And so ministers are graduating with debts of $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 that has to be repaid on a minister's salary. And so a good portion of it goes for that. It also goes, though, to help any minister who is in need at any particular time in their ministry, as well as helping those ministers in retirement who are stuck and need some extra help. So I'm going to ask you once again to be generous this afternoon. And if you want to write a check, make it out to the Unitarian Universalist Association. If you don't have your checkbook with you, just reach back into your pocket or your purse and pull out a little bit more of those dollar bills, maybe a bigger one than the one you already pulled out. And be as generous as you can be to support this fund. The offering will now be taken.
Christiane Heyde, are you ready to accept ordination to Unitarian Universalist ministry?
I am. But yes, I am.
You're sure. Christiane, in the sacred work of ministry, do you pledge to lead and to serve our liberal faith to speak, act, and live as a voice of courage and hope, to champion justice, freedom, and compassion, will you pledge to preach, teach, and live the principles of our faith, to honor and respect humanity in all its diversity, to serve your ministry freely among all those in need?
I will.
Will the adult members of Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist congregation please rise and body your spirit and repeat with me? We, members of the Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist congregation, standing together as a common community, do ordain you, Christiane Heyde, to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. We charge you to minister faithfully and courageously. We ordain you to live and to lead in paths of justice, liberty, and compassion. We pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this church belongs to all of us, and as we ask you to be charitable to our brothers and sisters. So we ask that they will remember that you are human and involved. We charge you to minister to all human joy and sorrow, celebrate and share our liberal faith, and nourish the spirit of life within yourself and others. Will Christiane's family, friends, and colleagues please stand and join in the affirmation of this act of ordination? Christiane, we have each walked with you and shared your life's journey that has led you to professional ministry. You have touched our lives in many ways. We rejoice with you and stand with you on this occasion. We offer you our continuing friendship and support. With pride and love, we offer our blessings on your ministry. Christiane, it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you for this sacred ceremony. We are grateful for those in this room and elsewhere who have helped you become the minister you are today. I now present you with this ministerial stole as a symbol of your ordination. With this act of ordination, we send you forth as a minister. May your ministry be one filled with love, faith, and the joy of worthwhile work. May you make a difference in the lives of those you serve, and may you help to heal some of our hurting world. Blessings to you and upon your ministry.
Amen. joyful noise we make. Can't hear me. What a joyful noise we make when we raise our voices together in song, when our congregations come together for a joyful event. And I want to submit to you that we can do it even more often than this. Christiane, will you come stand with me? It's an honor and it's a privilege to deliver the charge to you as you enter ordained ministry and to be the very first to address you as the Reverend Christiane. It was a great pleasure to serve as your supervising minister during your internship because I got to know the beautiful and complex person that you are, and I got to watch you offer your gifts to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My charge to you, Christiane, is to honor your calling. From the beginning, you've been like the prophet Isaiah, who said, "Here I am, send me." You've been willing to be sent out into the world as a vessel for the Spirit in service of a large and holy good. You've been met with many obstacles and disappointments on the journey to fulfilling the call to ordained ministry, but always you found ways to honor that calling, ways to still offer your gifts of preaching and teaching and being an agent of healing in the world. Your ordination is in many ways the culmination of a lifelong dream. In other ways, this event marks the beginning, the formal commitment to the profession and vocation of ministry. And so I charge you to continue to honor your calling by continually listening for its leadings. Remember that we never do this work alone. Honor your calling by keeping faith with your colleagues. Though we never do this work alone, ministry can sometimes be lonely. Keep faith with your colleagues by reaching out for guidance, counsel, and companionship. Keep faith with your colleagues by staying in fellowship with us, abiding by our covenants and standards of professional practice. And remember to take care of yourself as a good gift. Those of us who know you well know well your seemingly unlimited strength and boundless energy. The work of ministry is endless and is never done. So sometimes you may need to be a little less like Isaiah and a little bit more like Jonah, the reluctant prophet who said, "Oh no, Lord, not me." Honor your calling by listening close enough to know when it's time to say no, when it's time to put down the task, to make that space, to listen to that calling that came from your heart and the one that will lead you forward. Keep faith with your calling and be that messenger of peace.
When I think of that tradition of charging the minister or the congregation, that tradition that we have, I think of Michelangelo's fresco, The Creation of Adam, on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. There God points a finger down toward Adam, and Adam points the finger up toward God. And the fingers don't touch, but leave a small space in between them. This image, to me, symbolizes the charges given in such times as this. Life is always present in the minister, as it was in God, and in Adam, as he was a leader of the nation. The charge, however, further ignites their intentions with the hope and courage for greater things to come. It connects with the spirit of the congregation in order to release a higher relevance and resurgence than what now may be customary and cautious. Now, I don't wish to play God, but humor me. So I begin with the words of Jack Mendelson, a minister from the last century. He writes, "The future of the liberal church is almost totally dependent on these two factors: great congregations, whether large or small, and skilled, dedicated ministers. And the greatest feature of their relationship is that they create one another." During the past 52 years that I've been a minister, I've visited over 300 Unitarian Universalist congregations, most here in the U.S., but a couple of dozen abroad. Some of these experiences have taught me what I believe characterizes a great congregation, whether large or small, and serve as the focus of my charge. First, a great congregation is where members envision a dynamic future rather than long to return to some golden age in the past. Such congregations encourage younger generations to freely offer their new ideas and to become leaders. Great congregations utilize social media in order to appeal to those younger generations. They adopt worship practices that meet the spiritual needs of younger families, and they include children not only in attending, but in participating in the service. A great congregation includes long-tenured members who offer trust, support, and encouragement to less tenured ministers. And in such congregations, you can feel the greatness when you enter the doors. It's in the air you breathe, the words and music you hear, the open minds and hearts of members you meet. And so this evening I charge you to become a great congregation by welcoming younger people who bring the new ideas and behaviors that will create your future health and well-being. And second, a great congregation has members who are generous in giving financial resources. Great congregations have no deferred maintenance because their buildings are continually upgraded and often expanded, especially their restrooms, entryways, and their Wi-Fi and whiteboards are found. Capital fund drives happen every 5 years, and these improvements, and 100% of the members and friends contribute because a relational face-to-face canvas is held in the members' homes. Guidelines for giving are offered, and canvassers meet them. And when members die, they leave a bequest to the congregation's endowment fund. So I charge you to be a great congregation by being a generous congregation. And third, a great congregation honors its ministry and staff. They acknowledge her gifts and support her efforts. They understand her limitations and seek to fill any through an extended ministry by staff or volunteers, where she may need help or be limited. Leaders in great congregations know her family and appreciate her need for time to be with them. And if there are disappointments, members speak to her rather than speak about her to others. In all manner of things, they offer a fulfilling relationship that eventually leads to a long-tenured settlement of more than 10 years. So I charge you to be a great congregation by honoring your minister. And finally, a great congregation promotes the values we affirm as Unitarian Universalists: Great congregations model behaviors that both initiate and support social justice and service initiatives in the community. They are known by others as people who walk the talk and sit at the table. In every canvass, they dedicate 10% of their income to outreach beyond their institutional needs. And so I charge you to be a great congregation by modeling the ethical and the social values we affirm. Now, perhaps after what I've said, one or two of you might feel overwhelmed. Now, the wonderful thing about our journey is that change is always possible, and taking one step at a time toward a vision of greatness is a privilege that each of us can choose to enjoy. Each of us decides what role we will play in the journey toward greatness. And it begins in the paraphrase of John F. Kennedy, you ask what your congregation can do for you, or what you can do for your congregation. And the answer becomes a blessing that touches not only your heart and soul with faith, hope, and love, but that of the congregation as well. And the greatest feature is that all of you together in Christiane create this together.
It's been wonderful to be with you for this celebration. For me, it's particularly a marvelous time because I have seen Christiane's move through the process of becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister. I know her story of the years it has taken for her to find a religious home that welcomed her and her family. So it's great to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. As you all have heard several times this afternoon already, ordination of a person in the Unitarian Universalist tradition is a cherished right of the congregation. Yet in the past, and particularly throughout the 19th century, the ordination was not necessarily the act of just the single congregation ordaining the minister and calling that minister. We have a tradition of other congregations coming together to be part of that celebration. And so in many ways, we are part of that tradition today. For today we have people from Christiane's home Unitarian Universalist congregation, their internship congregation, the congregation that she is serving at this time, plus laity and religious professionals from several other Unitarian Universalist congregations. So being part of this tradition, I hope is a reminder that you are not in this ministry alone. There are wonderful ministers and laity with whom you will share in your ministry now and in the future. a great pleasure to bring you greetings from the over 10,000 adults, children, and youth in the 50 congregations in the Pacific Southwest District, as well as the Unitarian Universalists from across the continent and around the world.
Christiane, I am about to offer you the right hand of fellowship. And that's an amazing thing. And the most amazing thing about that is that it's not just me. Because I, much as Ken just described, I do not stand here alone. You know, behind me and with me, all around me stand not only these fine people, but generations of people, joined by me, to me, by their commitment to this unique and powerful way of life. They are committed, as you will be, to ministry. And they stand here with me and with you as we invoke a tradition that dates back thousands of years. A tradition that transcends theology and polity and zeroes in on the life of a minister. So as I offer you the right hand of fellowship, I will be formally welcoming you into the guild and into a role whose depths, joys, and challenges will form your character, as they have for many generations of ministers before, and many generations yet to come. Today you plunge into a tradition of ministry and holy folk that dates back, in my imagination, all the way to our species' first search for poetic meaning. So, Christiane, I extend the right hand of fellowship. As I do so, know that you shall never stand alone. That your ministry is supported, surrounded, and understood by generations, by those with you on the chancel today, by our colleagues throughout the district, the region, the association, and the profession. Christiane, welcome to our ranks.
Christiane, I'd like to invite you to come in. You should be right in this. Members and friends of this Unitarian Universalist community, your ordination of Christiane today is a sacrament of our association that is hundreds of years old. The theology behind the liturgy was written down for the first time in the Cambridge Platform of 1648, wherein 3 imperatives for such blessing must be present. First, the ordinate, Christiane, must hear or sense a call to the ministry. This is not simply a professional decision. While our forefathers and mothers understood this call to come from God, in this century we might express it as the universe moving in Christiane's heart, and Christiane becoming aware of the guidance of the universe. And as Susan taught us earlier, that's all the same thing. The second imperative is that Christiane must say yes to this call and to the personal transformation that prepares you for this service, and it affects you and those you. And finally, and perhaps most importantly for our congregational polity, the congregation must also recognize this call, support the candidate through her formation process, and finally bless her call through the act of ordination that only the congregation can bestow. If any one of these 3 imperatives is missing, ordination in our faith tradition is impossible. So what you have done here today has critical and sacred dimension. Blessings upon you, your dedication, and your support. Typically, part of the liturgy of ordination is a laying on of hands
in a blessing of new life in ministry. We read of Old Testament prophets anointing the rulers of their day, and shamans blessing monks and communities of spirituality. Jesus was anointed in his ministry by baptism. Laying on of hands by bishops and archbishops of the Middle Ages transferred the power of the Almighty to the apostle. As we lay hands upon Christiane today to bless her ministry, it is important that this blessing comes from all of us, not the hierarchy of an ancient church, but from the people out of whom Christiane arose and by whom she has been nurtured. So I invite all members of Christiane's family and all clergy present and gather round as you are able, so that all of us are touching someone who ultimately is touching Christiane. And if you choose to stay in your seats, feel free to reach a hand forward. May she have strength in vision, in body, and in heart to meet the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. May she have eyes with which to discern truth and appreciate beauty. Hands to lift those in need out of suffering, and a heart large enough to love a broken world and wise enough to save heart for herself and those whom she loves. May the energy from all our hands invest her with hope and a clarity of call that will serve her all the days of her life as the Reverend Christiane Heyde. Amen. Blessed be. Namaste. Shalom.
It's even customary that the newly ordained minister shares the benediction of her own ordination service. So I've been contemplating the word reverend. What is reverent? What is reverence? What is it to revere? Definitions include deep respect or honor for someone, and profound love, or experiencing and expressing awe. Albert Schweitzer says, love is reverence for life. I am therefore thrilled to commit myself to a life as reverent, steeping in love and respect for all I serve and all I do in this amazing world in which we live. I thank you for your love, respect, and reverence you have already shown me in my ministerial formation and in this amazing ordination service. May we all go forth and live a life filled with reverence, love, and awe. Wonder at the blessings that come to us each day. Go in peace and celebrate life, and continue the celebration in our fellowship hall where there's a feast awaiting you. During the next song, I invite the ministers to process out first with me, and I invite you, as much as you're willing and able, to dance your way
Please rise, dance, and sing. Not in that order. You gotta